Okay, so now that we've got a rough model figured out for the wolf, why don't we go ahead and start playing around with that design that we ended up liking. So if you remember, this guy right here, right there, that's the one that I really ended up, that one really struck a chord for me. And I felt like, okay, now I feel, you know, there's the right level of caricature. He feels threatening. There's a lot of things that I like about the wolf. The other thing too, I mean, wolves naturally have these long legs. So once I started hitting those longer legs, that started feeling right to me. And once again, looking at that profile, it feels like it's not too far off of that profile, with the exception of making the legs a little bit longer. So now why don't we go ahead and play around with coming up with a few attitudes and a few different poses, and have some fun that way. So I'm going to move this off to the side, and let's just dive right in. All right, so I'm all set. Why don't we do him running? Let's just get warmed up, get that head in there, and I want to get kind of this. I want it to feel like, you know, I got this here. We're going to get that nose out there. I want to get this big mane, you know, that big neck. Remember we did that in the profile? Have that come down. I want to get this kind of feel. And I'm just going to go scribbly. Now, with the wolf running, you know, the flexible part of the spinal cord is there. You know, this part where the shoulder blades are, that tends to be rigid. The neck is flexible. This part is flexible, and then you get into the pelvis back here, which is where we're going to do these legs here. I want to make sure, now I'm thinking about anatomy. I want to make sure that, you know, the anatomy for this guy sticks to how we caricatured it, right? So I want to make sure that those legs are long enough. And, you know, my tendencies, I tend to fall into that realistic realm. So I got to force myself to kind of go back and make sure that I'm doing things long enough. And that feels pretty good. Then I'm going to come down in here. That feels pretty good. And let's get this leg. I'm going to cross it right over, right in there. I'm thinking about where it connects back here to the other hip, like so. There we go. And let's push his ears back. Let's shrink it up just a touch. So you can see I want to get this feel. So let's get that tail following that gesture. There. Now let's zoom in a little bit and we'll get on the expression. I'll knock that size down a bit. There we go. Remember, we want those eyes in tight, and I want to go heavy on that, on the line work around the eyes. There we go. Give them a decent sized nose. I'm going to bring that size of that jaw just in. I'm imagining that jaw underneath, like so. You know, that hinges back here, so when if he opens his mouth, it would open up way down there. Think about all that stuff. There we go. And I want to get that coming in there, that big. So I want this feel coming through there. And once again, I did this before. I'm going to take this. It feels like it wants to be out there, and I want to increase the size a bit. So that feels better to me. There's a little adjustment. So there, getting some nice fluidity right into the shoulder blades. You should have a mass like that into these long legs. Like so. And you know, the shoulder comes back and comes back here like this for this leg. So that's, look how far back that leg would be. That's a mistake a lot of folks make. There, go a little bigger with that foot. There we go. Put that hip in there. Remember, I don't want him feeling too, we'll get a little shagginess. I don't want him feeling too skinny, because I still want him to be a threat. And also I want to make sure that indicating these cheekbones. There we go. Getting the other brow right there. There we go. That feels good. Remember, that comes off the ear like that. Maybe we get a bit of fur bunching up that way. There we go. Like so. So we got a nice fluid pose coming in. There's the knee right into that ankle. And I'll let this just come right down like so. There. All right. I want to make sure that feels long enough. There we go. We got nice long legs coming down. This all feels good. And right in to here. Nice and fluid. And it feels like a nice attitude. It's a nice place to start. I got some nice simple shapes here working against each other. There. Let's go ahead and lighten that up. I'm going to blow it up as well. Let's go ahead and tie this down. Let me get our first one in. So I want to keep this line work nice and clean. There we go. I want to get a nice hard look on his face. There. Maybe thicken that up there too. There we go. It's getting a little busy in there. I want to make sure my line work is nice and clear and clean. Even though this is a rough model sheet, I don't want it to be messy. There we go. That comes in like so. We'll do this with the nose. All right, let's bring this kind of back this way. Maybe we open his mouth just a little bit, do something like that. See a little bit of teeth in there. That feels a little much. I want to bring that out just a little bit. I think I'll spend more time focusing on getting that. There's a plane change right there going into the cheek. That's more important to indicate. Let's get this ear folded back. Like so. Remember that curls around. The other ear is back there like that. Let this come around. Now it's going to go into that fur mass that's coming off of the sides of the face. There, that feels pretty good. And I want this to kind of flow right into here. There we go. That feels good. And I want this to feel somewhat shaggy, so I'm going to break that fur up. Let it come down so that I can then emphasize the shoulder blades. Or the shoulders, I shouldn't say the shoulder blades, but the shoulders. Come down. Let that come in like so. This is feeling pretty good. I decided to go ahead and let this kind of fade out into here like so, rather than bringing it down this way, rather than doing this sort of thing. I'm gonna experiment with it though, just to see. Let's see here. It's all about experimenting, seeing what works, what doesn't. It's not too bad, but I'm not crazy about it. It kind of loses form a little bit. So I'm going to come back up in here and just do that. Then we're going to come into the legs. Once again, I want to feel this shoulder mass. There we go. Elbow. And there'd be a muscle. You know, if you look at your forearm, if you bend your forearm, you know, you've got this mass right here. Well, that's what this is here. You know, this dog, this wolf would have the same mass as he runs. There we go. And that'll slightly have a curve to it. And then right into this, into the feet, like so. Nice and simple. There. And we'll get the dog's claws down in there. I'm looking for fluidity because, you know, with him running like this, I want it to, you know, I want my eyes to kind of fill in that action. So if you can get that fluidity by kind of letting lines feed into each other, like I was explaining on the blues singer, It helps with the movement in the drawing. So looking at what it might look like with a little bit of break up in there. Let's try it without so much break. There we go. I want to counter, I've got all this shagginess up here, so I want to counter that with a little bit of smoothness because I'm going to get into some shagginess in that tail, and it'll all kind of balance together. I don't need all that. For character design, we can just do that. Maybe there's a little indication of knee right there. I'm going to come back in here and get a little more definitive with this fur. And let that just feed right into there like so. Actually, I want him to feel a little skinnier. Just do that. There we go. So I'm going to let this come into here. A little bit of fur coming off the back of the leg. Got a lot of loud vehicles outside my window. There we go. Ankle. There. Right into those nice, simple feet. Now we got to get this nice bushy tail. I want to keep it kind of simple on top. We'll feed into that line work there, and then there. So it's got a nice balance to it. I know I got some simpleness up here, down into there. There we go. Just want to get a little bit of indication of some anatomy up in here. There. Just, I don't know, just something to balance it out a little bit up there. It was feeling a little flat up in the face. Let's go ahead and get here now. Once again, I want to flare. I want to get some larger feet coming down. One thing I forgot was that toe there. Not the toe, but the pad. And that pad, whoops. Right here, leading down into that thumb. This is all going to come up like so. Letting this flare out. There. Simple shape right there. There. Like so. Let's go ahead and get this leg in. Now the one thing I'm going to do on here once I get this done that I didn't do on the other ones, so I just want to shade him in just a little bit, just so we can see him a little better. I'm going to bring this up just a touch more. There. Those toes tend to come up here, like so, and the pads, the feet are more like that. There we go. There, there's a quick image of him running. Let's get those eyes indicated a little better. Yeah, I think I'm gonna push this brow even further. There we go. Yeah, that pushes his expression just a touch. There. So there he is running. That feels pretty good. just to get a sense of his anatomy and get a sense of his build. There we go. Straights, curves. Oops, that all feels good. I'm going to go ahead. Let's just go ahead and throw a little bit of tone on there. There we go. That just feels a little better. I just want to get a little sense of something here. There. And then, you know, we'll get into how we might color these guys soon. But until then, I just like to do this when I'm doing my designs, just to finish it out, give it a little bit more sense of finish. And just so I can see it and judge it a little better. It's a little easier to judge like this. I like that. Add a little shadow in there. Push that leg back. Same here. There. Good. All right. So there he is running, our wolf, trying to keep it naturalistic. I want to, you know, I'm like I was saying earlier about the wolf, he's going to be caricatured, he's going to be pushed, but I also want him to feel naturalistic, sort of like the lions in The Lion King. If you watch that, you can tell that they're cartoony lions, obviously, but they also have a naturalistic feel to them, and that's what I'm trying to do here. I don't want him to be super cartoony and over the top. So that's that. Let's do another pose. I wonder what he would look like. Let's do one where he's snarling. I really want to get some attitude there. So, all right, I'm just going to wing this. Here we go. Let's see what we got. He's going to lower his head. You know, when they snarl, they get down low and they put their head down, you know. So I want to get that in there. I want to start with getting these big shapes in. Those ears are going to be back. Like so. And like this. And maybe he's turning back. You know, I want to get this fluid feel to it. I want to get some action lines. Maybe that other leg is back behind him a touch. And let's get those eyes in there. I'm going to shrink that brush up. It's a little too big. That eye looks terrible. Let's do this. I want to get in here. All right. Now, this is where it's going to get interesting, because I want to have him snarling. And to have him snarling is, you know, there's a lot of complexity in the way they wrinkle up. And I'm going to have him opening his mouth a little too. We'll do something there. So let's pull this out. You can see I'm really kind of struggling. This is what happens sometimes. You just got to fight it, work it. I got to find it. I want this kind of feel. So I want this to curve around. And I'll really get in very often and just get in here and scribble. And I want these big, long legs. Remember, we had those long legs. like this. We shrink them up again. I always make them too big. So I'm going to do this. We're going to find it. We are going to find it. Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to bring the other foot there. I'm not liking that. I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to let the shoulders be the highest point. Let's get rid of this. Let's just get rid of that. Let's let these shoulders be the highest point. Something like that. That feels more dramatic to me, and I got to find a place to put that other foot so it's not interfering in the silhouette. And then we can bring that tail like that. See that fluidity we're getting there. Maybe we even bring this leg. I can bring this leg over here. There we go. Let's get in here. I'm going to lighten this up and throw another line on, because sometimes when I get really scribbly like this, when I'm trying to find that pose, you know, I'm not a natural, I don't always naturally just find stuff. I struggle with it. So now I've got something a little bit more refined. You know what I can probably do? Let me try this. I really want to make him feel really threatening. So I'm going to get in here with those eyes. That mascara look. And then do this with the brow. There. Get right in there. And I want to wrinkle up. I'm going to wrinkle up that nose. So let's get in here. I want to get in here and just get this snout laid in and indicate where that's going to be. And now, you know, when they snarl, everything comes up. There we go. I want to get that feel. There we go. Searching. There, bring that right up like that. I want this all feel like it's bunching up. Let's shrink up that eraser. It's all bunching up. So now I want this to feed right into here. There. Get something really snarly. It's a little complex right now, but I'll get in there in a little bit here and figure it out. Now, once again, I'm imagining, okay, that jaw is going to be in here, and it's going to come down right into here. And when they snarl, they expose their gums and everything. So I'm going to indicate the gums. This is a tough one, but I can do this. There we go. Teeth. They tend to do something like that. There we go. I can always, I want to redraw this a bit. I want to get these teeth in here and look at, notice also, I'm going to go in and adjust. Once again, perspective. I want to make sure my perspective all stays consistent. So here I want to bring that tooth up a little bit, maybe that one down a little bit. Want to make sure that the perspective is consistent. You know, doing poses like this, a lot of people forget that. They forget the perspective, and then you suffer for it. It looks wrong. Let's do something like that. Something, there we go. And we'll get that tongue in there. So now, that feels pretty good. But what I want to do here is that I think I want to take all of this and pull it over. Just like so. There we go. Let's do it with the same layer underneath. We'll just pull it right over. There we go. So now that feels a little better. I'll show you what I'm looking at. Now this feels like it's feeding into here. This feels like it's more in line here. I want to get these brows working a little better. There we go. I'm thinking about the cheekbones. This is going to come out like so. This all will come down like that. You notice I've got a lot of complexity here. I'll go back in and I'll fix it. There. There we go. Just like that. There. I'm going to turn that ear back that way a little bit, and that one that way a little bit. So now that feels a little better. Just made a little adjustment. Let's go ahead and color in this mouth. I just want to go nice and simple that way. But see, now I've got something that feels pretty good. There we go. It's a struggle. You know, sometimes it's, it doesn't just happen. You got to really fight for it. You got to fight for that pose. I'm going to try to get this one. I want to feel like he's out here. There we go. We'll get that thumb in there. Nice long legs. Same here. There we go. Now, to me, I'm thinking about drawing through that. The body is going to come down here. I think the knee, get this hip up here. This knee will be down in here. And I want to break that out. I want to try to pull that, I'm trying to pull that knee out. I don't want that tangent there. You know, maybe I bring the foot down in there like so. And then if I'm thinking about the other foot, maybe it's down in there like so. Or is it down in here? I can make it here, here. I like it better over, this wider stance feels a lot more, stable. I'm gonna do this. There we go. That feels more stable. Still not liking where that foot's placed. I'm going to knock this eraser up. So it's a lot of, you know, I'm always looking for what's going to be pleasing. I might need to bring this foot. What might be interesting, let me do this. I'm going to take these just so I don't mess them up. I'll turn those off. I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to erase it back. I'm trying to find pleasing placements for these feet. I'm thinking, what if I did this? Because I want this feel, and I want it to feel like there's a little bit of action, like he might be going this way. And if he's going that way, maybe he is pushing off on that foot, and this foot here has just come over. Something like it's crossing under, something like this, maybe. Is that too weird looking? There we go. And you get the other foot back there. I think I like this idea, but I'm going to explore it a little more. I want this to be cleared out. So I still think having his paw cleared out and over here, that's not right. There we go. I'm going to go back to what I had, but I'm not going to push that paw over so far. I'm going to go right back into here. That feels much better. Big, big shapes. We'll get this foot back in here like so. I'm just going to indicate it for now. And that tail actually is too long because it should be more like that. And coming through. Big shapes. This is the biggest thing I'm trying to really work it. It's a struggle. I'm telling you, it's a huge struggle getting all this to work right. But then when you nail it, when you get it, then it's okay. Now, one of the things you can do to help with that is to flop your drawing. And I think we've got something good working here. Although I still think putting that foot there is probably the right thing to do. Nope, I am wrong. There we go. There we go. Let's go ahead and tie this baby down. I'll turn this way back. Turn that one way down. So let's go ahead and draw. Now remember, I still want to work on that just a touch. I want to get that face. So let's just dive right into the face. We got those eyes close together. I want them nice and pretty round to really show off the, you know, his, and I'm going to shrink up those pupils a little bit, make them really threatening. Curling up that nose. Let me shrink that. There we go. There. There, that feels pretty good. That part of the brow will come in front of this other eye just to give it a little dimension. There. That feels pretty good. And I'll let this come up right into here. There's a wrinkle. There's a wrinkle coming up like that. There we go. There's a wrinkle coming up. And then that one comes down. I'm going to let that feed right into the bag under the eye, which is also kind of the cheekbone. So I'm going to pull that out. Let that feel more like cheekbone. There we go. And that'll come into the mouth. I want a nice big, simple shape now. I've got a lot of detail in here, so I want to counter that detail. There we go. And remember also that this nose, they feel like a bear nose. Trying to keep that consistent. Pulling those lips up. Teeth. I'm going to erase that back just a little bit. Big, big canines. Big canines. Remember, keeping the perspective in mind. And I'm thinking about that jaw underneath. I want to have a nice simple line there. Maybe a little, I wonder what it would look like with a little bit of a lip there. If we gave him a little lip, getting a little lippy. There. There. And let's just indicate that tongue in there, like so. Good. There, so now, you know, after a lot of hard work, we're gonna find it, we're gonna get there. I want this to come out and come around nice and simple. Let this come down. That feeds down. And thinking about it and going back in perspective, there it goes. And everything seems to be on the right, all in the right perspective right here. So that's feeling good. There we go. Finally making some headway. See how it, I decided not to edit all this stuff out. I want you to see how much I struggle as well. But if you think about some of these, some of the principles, clear silhouette, clear lines of action, all these different things, then, it'll help you work through some of the problems. And so that's what I wanted you to see. I wanted you to see that I struggle as much as anybody, but I kind of work through it. And that's important to me for you to see that. So that's feeling pretty good. Let's bring this, I want to feed that right into there so it feels like, I want this neck all to feel like a big mass. All this fur. I'm going to experiment with that fur a little bit, see what that, because I'm going to have to break up some of this fur. And I just want to see what's the best way to do it. I want to bring this way out. There we go. That's what I want right there. And I'm going to bring this, I'm going to let this feed right into a line coming up. And then I'll break up that fur up here. There, that feels good. And then I'll get into the shoulder right there. Good. And I want it to feel like it's bunching up a little bit that way. There we go. That's not feeling furry enough for me. There we go. And here, I'm going to increase my brush size just a touch. I want to get this nice, clean line coming down right into the wrist and into the feet. Right here. This should be a little bigger toe. There we go. That feels pretty good. There we go. Toenails. Just indicate those really quickly. There. Now let's let this go right into the body. There we go. I want to get a little bit of the shoulder there. I'm thinking about that shoulder there. And then this is going to come down into this long forearm. I want to make sure we're retaining those long legs that are really part of the design of this wolf. Down into those big feet. There we go. Like so. Finish that out. Let that come around. There. There. See? We're making breakthroughs here. It's not always easy. And we'll get that ankle. But when you do break through, it feels pretty good. There we go. Same thing, toenails there. And then here, I'm just going to indicate and that's where it's supposed to be. There. Just like so. I'm going to erase that back just a hair. Go a little heavier with these lines in the foreground and a little lighter with the line back there. There we go. And then let's go here. Nice and simple up on top of the tail, right there, and shaggy here. So there we go. That was a heck of a struggle. It really was. But we got something I like. Pull that back. There we go. There, we got our snarling wolf in a nice wolfy pose. There we go, just like that. And let's go ahead and do the same thing we did with the other one. Just so we can get a little bit more dimension on him. I want to do this. Go a little smaller with that brush. There we go. There we go. That feels good. Oh, we got a nice wolfy wolf. Darken those ears up. He's nice and wolfy looking. There. There we go. And right down into that tail. I'm going to go ahead and color in that foot in the background just to put it in the shadow back there. There we go. Push it back a hair. There. Let's do one more thing. I want to try something. I'll go really white. Let's get those eyes to really pop. There we go. That's pretty scary looking. And maybe we can do the same thing with the teeth. There. There's a good wolf. So that's our wolf again. Another attitude. We'll get rid of that one. And we'll get rid of that one. There. That feels pretty good. That was a struggle. So like I said, I'm sorry that, it took me such a long time, but I wanted you to see my process. That to me is really important. I want you to see the struggles and trying to problem solve and figure things out until I come out the other side. That, I don't want to sugarcoat it. So anyway, there's another one. Let's get one more done. Let's see here. Let's try one that's a little more, maybe a little more calm, but still threatening. Let's try one where he's actually kind of, maybe he's stalking. There we go. We'll put those ears up. Maybe he's seeing something. I'm gonna put those eyes close together. There we go. We'll get that shape coming out. There we go, like there. And there. I'm going to drag out the length of that nose. I got a little short, I think. I'm going to push that, you know, that size. And I want this to feel like we're getting another, you know, that big mass right there. And what am I doing? I'm drawing too big, too big, too big. There we go. Nice big mass. Bring that up there like so. That perspective feels a little bit off. There we go. That mass might be getting a little too big. There, nice and simple. Again, as always. I want this to feel like it's foreshortened. And the way to do that is to make sure that this one's long enough. There we go. So then, you know, I want to make sure that this is coming right at us. There we go. And if this foot, so what we've indicated here is that this foot here is coming forward, which means if that's coming forward, just to get the placement of his feet right, this leg is just replaced it. So this leg's going to be here, then the other leg is going to be back there. This leg here, right here, will be coming forward. Like so. And then the other one will have been back here. Thinking about those hips coming all the way around, that knee would be back there. Scribble, don't be afraid to scribble. I want to round that out a little bit. There we go. I'm going to turn him just a touch that way. I want those legs feeling nice and long. You can balance all of that out with that big bushy tail. Really going to push that tail. There. Push those ears up. There we go. Something like that. And some bushiness in there. So nice and scribbly. I'm not worried about making a pretty drawing. I just want it accurate at this point. Because then I can go in and do my tie down, just like we're going to do now. I always like to start with those eyes. I always start getting that expression. I want to make sure that expression is right before I go anywhere else. That's just one of my things. Other people like to start with, the body and getting that right. And that's fine. But for me, there we go. I want to get a nice kind of menacing expression here. There we go. There, that comes down there. There. There, that center line is going to be more in there. That nose wasn't quite hitting that nose right. There we go. Those lines are getting a little messy. So, I want to make sure, when I adjusted this nose, I was thinking about, okay, is that perspective right? I was looking at that perspective. I'm constantly checking and rechecking things like that. Things like perspective and proportion and all those things. And let's get this coming in here. There we go, and let's indicate a little bit of his bottom jaw. There. There, that feels pretty good. I'm gonna erase that back a little bit. And let this come right up. There. I like this nice defining straight right there that feeds into that lower jaw. There's something about that that's pleasing for me visually. And we'll let that come down. I think the ears are a little close together up here. So I'm going to pull them apart. Do something more along these lines. There we go. That feels a little better for me. And we're back at it. And we'll just let that come right around. That line got too thick. There we go. There. That comes right up into there. And that's going to feed into this mass. This will feed into that mass, like so. Let's get these ears in. There we go. I like to have that come down like so. I want to keep them simple. And maybe some hair coming out that way. There. Let's pull back a little bit. There we go. We're getting somewhere here. Let's color that nose in. Just to get a nice sense of dogness. There we go. Yeah, let's let that come down and around like so. Then that'll feed right into this shoulder coming forward. which is going to come into here. And I want to indicate things like this, things like the wrist right here, so it feels like we're getting some overlapping shapes, because it's very important to feel the foreshortening in this leg, because if you can see how short I'm drawing it, it's got to feel like it's really coming toward the camera, toward the viewer. There we go. There. I want to make that foot nice. Whoa, man. Got a little scribbly there. I want to make this foot nice and big so it feels like it's coming towards us. This is feeling a little bit much. There we go. And then right here, we'll get into these shoulders. You know, that's the next main mass right there. Let that come underneath like so. There. Let this come down. Want that simple shape, and then I can build on this simple shape, getting the toes in there. Like that. Simple. There's the toe back there, or the pad I should say. There. Keep everything as simple as possible, and that is the key to a nice clear character drawing. But you can see, like we did on the other drawing, how often it's super hard to find that simplicity. It's like writing. You know, when I've written scripts before with, you know, a team of people, it's really difficult to get everything down to, you know, the most on point, simplest way of stating something in a story. It's easy to put a whole bunch of words in there and over explain stuff, and, you know, but it's really difficult to get everything whittled down and to the point and simplified and clear. And that's the struggle. And it's the same with drawing. You know, that's what we all struggle for. Mark Twain said it once. Mark Twain, there's a famous quote, and I'm probably going to mess up the quote, but he had written a letter, and and it was a long letter, and he had apologized, saying, "I'm sorry, my letter's so long." I'm messing up the quote, but "I'm sorry the letter's so long, but I didn't have enough time to write anything shorter." And there's truth in that. You know, it takes a lot of thought and effort to get everything down to the essence of what you're trying to say. And that goes for visual terms too, and drawing. And so that's where I, you know, spend most of my time, is just working it and getting it down to where, okay, this is what I want to say. You know, I don't need a lot of lines. I don't need a lot of colors. I don't need a lot of whatever. I don't need a lot of brush strokes. You know, that's why I try to get my line work. If you watch me put my line work down, I try to be very, very definitive in what I'm doing with the line work. Make a statement, put it down, be clear, and move on. There we go. There. That feels pretty good. There he is coming towards us, stalking. And let's go ahead and do the same thing with him. We'll just throw a little bit of color in there, a little bit of tone. A little bit of tone right here. Right here. There we go. Let me shrink up that brush. There we go. There. It's feeling very wolfy. Can go a little smaller with that brush. There we go. Let's make him feel wolfy. There. Just quick. There we go. So there's an exploration of 3 attitudes. And let's go ahead and play with expressions. So I'm going to turn those off. And let's just get in there and I'm going to relax a little bit. And these, sometimes it doesn't come easy, I'll tell you. So let's try something a little, all of his expressions have been really mean. What if we did something that was not so mean? There we go. Something like this. It'll look like that. Something like that. There. There. Let's see here. Remembering perspective. I want to make sure that perspective stays consistent. Maybe he's just like, he's looking like that. There we go. There. There's some good shapes. Some good shapes happening there. Thinking about that coming underneath, like so. What would it look like if that's a little more like surprised right there. And I'm just going in really rough. I'm keeping I like to scribble in my initial poses because then I can just go ahead and play around with it a little bit. There's something there. I want to get that nice, strong lower jaw. There he is looking over his shoulder. Maybe it's bunching up a little bit like that. We did that in one of the earlier poses when I was trying to find the expression or find the model. What if we did this? Let's just pull his ears down a little bit like he's, That's going back away from us. That'd be going back away from us a little bit. Like he's just a little bit. Maybe he's scared. Do something there like that. There. going to do this. Clean up those eyes a little bit there. I want to feel that skull coming around. There. That feels like a pretty nice pose. Let's get this to come around. There. I've got that happening there. I wonder if I should try to get this more like that. There we go. That feels pretty good. All right, so now, just like we did before, I'm going to shrink it up a little bit. Let's go ahead and tie it down. That was a nice quick one, finding that pose. There. I'll just draw that in there. Remember, I want to keep that heavy dark line around his eyes. So that's a real distinctive wolf trait. There we go. There. Let's bring that snout way out. We'll get this nose drawn in. I'm going to increase the size of that nose a little bit because it feels a little small. I want it to feel a little big, a little goofy. There we go. Let me pull that back. There, like that. Perspective looks good. Yeah, that all feels good. There. Let that come down. There we go. So this is the kind of thing I would do. We're having some fun exploring different expressions, poses, figuring out the character. That's what, finding, doing the rough model sheet. That's what that's all about, is finding that, getting used to the model. There's something weird here. I want to try something. I'm going to take the snout and I'm going to put it up here and I'm going to do this to it. It felt like it was being bent down. It felt weird to me. So I'm doing that. That feels a little better for me. And I'll just bring mouth up in there. There we go. That feels better. There. And thinking about real wolves, you know, through all of this, this is all based in reality, you know, thinking about real wolf anatomy and then caricaturing it. But I can't caricature it, just like I said earlier. You can't caricature unless you know what you're drawing from. And I've drawn a lot of wolves. There we go. There, that feels good. I like being real bold. I like drawing big like this sometimes and just, you know, just getting in there and being real bold with the line work. There. Got a little pose right there that I like. I want to erase this back. There we go. Let's go ahead and throw a little color on there. Knock that size back. There we go. This all feels good. There. There we go. There's a pose, a rough expression. I kind of like that. There we go. We'll go a little darker. We'll get that nose. There. Maybe a little bit there. Nah, we don't need that. There's a little something. A little something, something. And do this. Come up under here. Get those eyes in there. I like getting those eyes nice and bright so you can see, get the expression a little better. That feels good to me. There we go. All right. Let's do one more expression. Let's see here. Trying to think of an expression we can do. How about fear? Or how about, we don't really have anywhere he's looking right at us. Let's try something. Let's try something where he's looking more right at us. Like he's puzzled. What would that look like? I'll do this. You know, he's got that dog tilt to his head. Want to get this shape nice and strong. And remember those, we're going to have that heavy line work around the eyes. What happens if we do this? I'm going to tilt it just a little less. Just a little less. There we go. Let's get those eyes nice and, now that I got kind of an idea, there we go. That feels pretty good. That comes down. We're going to let that come together. That might be a little close together up on top. Let's make this eyebrow come up. I want to get those brows there. There we go, like that. Maybe let's pull that lip up just a bit. There, like so. I'll pull this in just a bit. I think I'm going a little bit big with those. There. Nice and bold. Be bold. That's the key. Get in there and be bold. And draw big. I'm always drawing too big. There. There's something like that. We turn on this guy. We move this one over. Yeah, I think we're okay. It's a little different. I like getting a little variety in there. There we go. And it's not real symmetrical. I'm trying to get a little bit of it, some kind of opening this way, like that, just to make it feel a little more dynamic. There we go. And get everything sweeping that way. There. We knock that back a little bit. And let's tie this down. There we go. Whoops. That feels a little bit much. Let's do this there. Here's the break in the nose there. There we go. Because we're getting a little bit, it's getting, looking a little bit more directly at us. We can get away with showing a bit more chin under there. Now I'm going to get in here and really draw these eyes. Get that nice dark line. There we go. There. Completely confused. This is always my look as a father growing up with my kids. There we go. There, that feels pretty good. Get that center line coming down. A little bit of the bags under the eyes. I'm just keeping it loose, keeping it rough. You know, it's somewhat tied down enough. There we go. There, that feels good. There, this is fun. I like this expression. This would be a fun animation expression. There we go. Right down there, up into the ears. There we go. There, that feels pretty good. There. Now here, I'm gonna leave this nice and simple. I don't want to see that hair sticking up over the top. I want to have all the fur off of his neck coming down right off of here. Nice and simple there. There. Letting all that come around. There. There we go. There's one more. Let's just color that in really quick. So we've got a nice little variety of expressions, poses, looks. Let's get that in there. And that's a good start. I mean, normally I'd probably do a little bit more, but that's like a week-long video. So we're going to leave it at this. But it's, you know, I'd be doing a lot of what I've been showing you here, which is getting in there just like we did with Peter, like we're doing here, which is really fleshing out, exploring the model, exploring expressions, having some fun with it, playing with shape, and working your way through the problems. I mean, you know, that snarling pose, that was difficult, you know, and, you know, I hit difficult poses a lot, but I just persevere. I keep pushing through, rely on those design principles, those other videos that I went over with you guys, you know, fall back on those, because that's what I always end up doing to try to correct the problems and find my way through kind of the murkiness. Sometimes I don't see that drawing in my head, and I got to kind of work my way through that murky feel. And so that's what I did there. So here's the last one. Let's turn these on. We'll put him right over here. Let's put him there. And we'll take this guy and move him over here. There we go. There's a nice page, of drawings. So, so that's the rough model sheet, figuring out the rough model sheet for the wolf. That was a lot of fun. Like I said, you're going to run into problems, but work your way through them. Persevere, push through, don't give up. Keep trying and twerking. Keep trying and tweaking it so that you can find that right pose, find that, the leg placement. That was our big thing. That was what I was struggling with, finding that right leg placement so I could hit the right silhouette. Remember, I'm leaning back on some of those principles. So anyway, that's finding or creating a rough model sheet for the wolf. Why don't we go ahead and move on to the next video?